In the roaring world of racing where engines scream and metal trembles against the wind, Valerie Thompson found a silence that no one else could hear. It was not a silence without sound, but a silence inside her mind that appeared only when speed reached its highest limit. The faster she went, the more the world seemed to disappear until only her breath and the rhythm of the machine remained. For her, velocity was never about noise or attention. It was a way to understand herself through the wind that cut across her body and the road that vanished beneath her wheels. On nights when the track echoed like a storm, she would sit alone beside her motorcycle after the race and listen to the cooling engine as it ticked softly like a fading heartbeat. Around her, the world of competition would still be alive with celebration and defeat, but she remained apart, as if standing on the edge of a different reality. She had become known as a queen of speed, yet behind that image was a woman who carried solitude like a second skin. Her calmness was not something she performed for others. It came from the deep belief that in the moments of extreme acceleration she was closest to something real and unbreakable within herself. Her journey into speed did not begin with fame or recognition. It began with an instinctive resistance to a life that felt uncertain and uncontrollable. As a young woman, she discovered motorcycles not as machines of rebellion but as instruments of focus. In her training space, she kept different bikes arranged like loyal companions, each one waiting for the moment she would bring it to life. Before dawn, she often rode out into empty roads where the air was cold and sharp and the world had not yet woken. The vibration of the engine beneath her gave her a sense of grounding that nothing else could offer. To her, the motorcycle was not just a tool for winning races. It was a barrier between her and the noise of expectations. The spotlight that followed her career meant little compared to the quiet conversations she had with the machine beneath her hands. Every turn of the handle, every surge of acceleration felt like a negotiation with invisible pressure that tried to define her. She refused to be defined. Instead, she listened to the engine as if it carried its own language, one that only she could fully understand. As her career advanced, she was faced with moments where she had to choose between safety and the pursuit of something greater. She chose the edge not out of recklessness but out of devotion to the feeling that speed gave her. In a world that measured her by records and rankings, she cared only about the connection between her hands and the road ahead. The dust on her racing suit became a symbol of that devotion, proof that she had lived each moment fully without hesitation. People around her often tried to understand her silence. They saw her calm expression and mistook it for distance. But inside, she was constantly aware of every sound, every movement, every change in air pressure as she prepared herself for what lay ahead. She did not compete for applause. She competed for a state of mind where nothing existed except the present moment, stretching endlessly forward. In interviews she appeared composed, but the truest version of her life was never visible to cameras. It was written only in the wide open stretches of road where no audience could follow. When she raced at full speed, something remarkable happened. The world seemed to freeze around her. The landscape blurred into a single continuous flow, and even time itself felt uncertain. In those moments she was not escaping life but entering it more deeply than ever before. The machine beneath her was no longer separate from her body. It became an extension of thought and instinct. She was not simply riding. She was merging with motion itself. The wind that struck her face did not erase her identity. Instead, it revealed it. She saw fragments of her past in the passing scenery. The years of training, the quiet mornings, the doubts and fears, all transformed into something clear and simple. There was no need to prove anything to anyone anymore. The only truth that mattered was the present movement forward into the unknown. Outside the track, her life was often misunderstood. Some saw her as distant while others saw her as fearless. But fear was never absent. It existed quietly in the background, reminding her that every race carried risk and every moment of acceleration was a step toward uncertainty. Yet she did not retreat from it. She acknowledged it and continued forward because she believed that meaning was found only when fear and desire existed together in balance. As time passed, her name became associated with extraordinary achievements in speed. But for her, personal victories were never measured in numbers. They were measured in moments of clarity when everything inside her aligned perfectly with the machine and the road. These moments were rare and fleeting, yet they defined her entire existence. In the later stages of her journey, she began to understand something deeper. Speed was not an escape from life but a way of listening to it more closely. The louder the engine became, the quieter her mind grew, until there was nothing left but awareness. In that awareness she found peace, not as something separate from motion but as something born within it. When her story is remembered, it is not the records or achievements that remain strongest. It is the image of a woman riding into open space with the world dissolving behind her. A woman who chose to speak through motion rather than words. A woman who found stillness not in silence but in speed. Even now, when the memory of her rides is spoken of, it feels like a distant wind passing through empty roads. It carries a sense of calm that settles slowly into the mind. It reminds us that even in the most intense pursuit of velocity there can exist a hidden stillness waiting to be discovered. And in that stillness there is a lesson that extends beyond racing. It is the understanding that within every life, no matter how chaotic, there is a place of quiet that belongs only to oneself.